This is a video to show how to do rotations, reflections and enlargements using Geogebra. So I'm just going to, if you see on this graph page, if there's an arrow there next to the graphics word, and I can just take off the axes because we're not going to need it because we're doing rotations, reflections and enlargements. The algebra page we're not going to really need either for now. The algebra page is really useful for seeing the constructions, how you made them, but I think the video should be sufficient. So first of all I'm going to just draw a shape, and I might want a regular polygon, so 1, 2, and I'm going to make it a 5-sided pentagon. So I just quickly put a shape in there. Next thing is I need a point to rotate it around, because I'm going to do rotations first. There's rotations. And then I need a slider, because I'm going to use my slider to change the angle. And so if I just click on angle there, it automatically changes it. You can see in this box the minimum is now 0, the maximum is 360, and the increments is going to go up into 5-degree changes. You could change that to 1 degree, so it goes up by 1, 2, 3, 5s, 10s, whatever you wish. Just look at the other options. This is fixed. If it's fixed, I can't move it once it's on the screen, and I might want to move it out the way. It might get in the way. This is how long the slider is going to be, 180 pixels long. You can put that slider horizontally on the page, that way, or vertically, up and down, up to you. And to animate it, you can choose at what speed it animates if you do decide to animate it. 1's quite slow. I might just increase that to 5, and you can change the direction. But every time I strongly recommend just playing around with all the different things you can do. I'm going to call this angle to remind me that this is the angle of rotation, so I've changed its name to angle. And now I'm going to go to, this is the transformations tool box. So from the right, I've got all the translations, enlargements and reflections. And you know, if you don't remember, if you just mess around with them, eventually you'll work it out. Because if I do rotate around a point, and I just hover over that, the yellow box there tells me what to do. It says select the object you want to rotate, then the point you want to rotate it around, and then enter the angle you want to rotate it by. So if I click on the object I want to rotate, the point that's going to be the center where the string's attached to as it rotates around, we can imagine, and then it should come up straight away with a little box where you type in the angle. It didn't, and that will happen sometimes, so just click on the arrow and then click back onto the rotation button and we'll start again. So I can see all the sides are glowing there. They're not glowing, they're all glowing, so I should successfully have selected that this time. The dot is now glowing. I should successfully have selected that, and sure enough the angle box comes up to tell me I have. And then I just type in the name of my slider, and we've called that angle, so everything's got to be the same. And I want it to rotate clockwise instead of anti-clockwise. Okay. And there it's rotated. I can then click on the arrow again so that it knows I want to select an object. I can right click once the slider's growing, and I can say I want to animate that slider, and there we go, sending it round. And then as soon as you've put an animation on, in the bottom left here you get a play or pause button. I might just want to pause that now, and play and pause. And once I've got it paused, I can then right click on this rotated image of the original shape. So I've right clicked on it, and I can put the trace on, which means it's going to leave a trace behind this shape as it moves. So now I've put the trace on, I click on play again, and you must have paused it. You won't be able to put trace on if it's whirling round. And it makes some nice shapes and forms. Great. Now I can pause that again. So that's rotation. Let's now try a reflection. So I'm going to open a new page. You'll have saved this as your rotation option, so new page. Don't want to save it personally, but you will. And then I'm going to do a reflection. So same thing, I might want to pick a regular polygon, so 2 points, and then I might say this time, I don't know, why not a 7-sided? Why not a 13-sided one to see what that looks like? Pretty big, so I might just want to shrink it. I get the arrow whenever I want to do something to an object that's already existing. I'm just going to shrink that. I'll show you something else, don't worry about remembering or not, but I've held down the left click button on the mouse and dragged round the shape, and the reason I've done that is because then I can go to view and algebra, and I can hide all the points if I wanted to. So I could say okay, just hide these points. Click that and click that. Okay, but it's not really necessary here. And you could hide many other points too. Okay, let's just reflect it then. So then I need a line, and I really want all the students, as we said in class, to enter an equation of a line. So y equals x plus 1. And if I want to see what that looks like, if I just, with the arrow, click anywhere on the blank page, I can add an axis, and I can see that that's going through there. And then I'm going to reflect this object in that line. So I go to Reflection, and reflect object in line rather than in point or circle. And again, that yellow box tells me what to do. Select object to reflect, then the line I want to reflect it in, and that's all. So click on the object, click on the line, and it's reflected. It's a bit out of view, but if I go here and click on the four-headed arrow, I can drag the view. And if I click on the down arrow next to the four-headed arrow, I can zoom in and zoom out. So this box changes your view, your perspective on what you're doing. So I'm going to zoom out just so we can get a bit better view on that. There we go, and I click each time I want to zoom out. Great. So I might want to animate this line now. So to do that, if I now double click on my line, and I'm going to put an A in there instead, which is going to be linked to a slider. So another slider goes on. As soon as you want to animate, you're going to need a slider. I'm going to call that, let's call it M, because that's what in the Anglophone world we use. So it's going to rotate this M value between -5 and 5, changing by 0.1 each time. It could change by 1 each time, or it could change by 0.1. I'm going to leave it on 0.1 for now. I'm going to unfix the slider so I can move it around if I need to. And I'm not going to put the animation on yet, but when I do, I want the speed to be a bit higher. So now I'm going to go back to my reflection option. There it is. And I'm going to reflect. Sorry. Now I'm going to double click on the line because I need to introduce this slider into the equation of this line. So double click on that line. And I'm just going to put an A in front of that x. So y equals ax plus 1, and that, sorry, mx plus 1, because I changed the name, and that m refers to the slider here. So when that slider moves, this will become 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x. I can show that equation. So if I put, I can show the label. It's down here. And if I go into Object Properties, I can change that label to show not only its name, but its name and its value, or just its value, which is y equals mx plus 1. And there we can see the equation of that line. So I right click on the line, Object Properties, and I just change Show Label to Value rather than the name, so value. And then if you see I change this, the line changes, and you can see its equation changing there. Great. So now I can animate the slider and turn the trace on the object. So trace on, as we did before, animation on, play button appears down here, and you have an animated reflection. Great, pause it. So that's reflections. Last one then, enlargements. So new page, I'm going to do the enlargement. So again, you'd save it, I'm not going to. And for enlargements, same if I go back here, it's enlargement from point. If I hover over there, it tells me to select an object to enlarge, then a center, and then a scale factor. So again, I need my slider because that's going to be my scale factor. I'm just going to leave it as being called A and all those settings as they are, but I will just change the fixed so that I can move it around if I need to. I'm then going to put a point, which I'm going to enlarge it from. Why don't I put that at 0, 0? Normally we define where the point is by the coordinates. And so if I right clicked here, so I have to click on the arrow first, and then click on the blank page, and these two axes and grid come up, and if I click on the grid I get the grid. So we define that point as 0, 0, and obviously if I move that point then around, I double click on it, okay, but it's at the intersect, so I'd have to put on another point. So we're going to enlarge it from the point 0, 0. I could put on another point, enlarge it from the point 1, 1. I could put another point, enlarge it from the point -1,3, and that's like a bright light shining on the object, and the shadow will be its enlargement. So let's now put an object. I'm going to go for an irregular polygon this time, so I can draw any type of polygon I like. Maybe a bit smaller. And then I'm going to do the enlargement. So I'm going to hover over there, it says object, then the point I want to enlarge it from, and then the scale factor. So I want to enlarge this object from that point using the scale factor of the slider, and the slider is called A this time, so I type in A. It's 1, so you shouldn't see any change, because a scale factor of 1 means it's exactly the same size and position as before, but as it gets bigger you see that goes out, and then as it comes back it goes the other side for negatives, but that's B and A grade, so it won't be in the foundation paper. Negative scale factors, so fractionals make it smaller, less than 1, and greater than 1 make it bigger. And the same thing again, we can trace this object, and if you want to add a bit of colour you can click on the object, let's go off, click on that, and you see again all these attributes appear here that I can change. So once I've clicked on the object I can change its colour to red or purple or whatever else. Let's change it to violet. I can make it a bit more solid, that colour. That's the lines. If I click inside, click off, and then click inside, I can change, there we go. And then if I right click on top of the shape itself, I can also do it a different way using the object properties. So if I right click and object properties, I can go into colour and change the opacity of the shape itself, and you can see underneath that that's getting darker, the actual inside of the shape, or lighter. I'm going to make it sort of transparent for tracing. So we've got trace on, we're going to animate this point, and there we've got our enlargement being animated backwards and forwards. So that's all of them. Good luck.